The ocean covers more than 70% of our planet, yet we've explored less than a fraction of its depths. Beneath those endless waves lies a world still cloaked in darkness and mystery. From colossal creatures that defy explanation to ancient relics resting in the abyss, the ocean remains one of Earth's final frontiers, a place where science and myth still blur together. Even with modern technology, what we've found is only the beginning. Strange sounds echo through the deep unseen giants glide past submersibles, and divers uncover objects that shouldn't exist at all. Each discovery pulls us further into the unknown and reminds us how little we truly understand about the world beneath the waves. So, dive in as we descend into the eeriest ocean mysteries ever recorded, the uncharted depths where science ends and legend begins. Seafloor, they say the final frontier isn't space, it's the ocean floor. Beneath miles of crushing pressure and absolute darkness lies the seabed, an alien landscape that covers over 70% of our planet. But here's the thing, we've mapped more of Mars and the Moon than the deep floor of our own oceans. What's hiding down there? Why, after centuries of exploration, does science still treat the seabed like a forbidden secret? Structure. The seabed isn't just an endless flat plain, it's a world shaped by immense, slow-moving power. Tectonic plates grind and pull apart, forming mid-ocean ridges, volcanoes, and trenches so deep light can't reach them. These scars of the Earth hold clues to the planet's formation, yet many remain unmapped. Sonar scans reveal strange, symmetrical structures that don't always fit known geology, features that some scientists quietly admit are unexplained anomalies. Could they be natural, or remnants of something far older than we think? Sediments. Every layer of the ocean floor tells a story. Dust from deserts, volcanic ash, shells of ancient life, even particles from space. But in between those layers, researchers have found odd magnetic signatures and chemical compositions that don't align with Earth's known history. Deep core samples pulled from the Pacific, for instance, contain isotopes that seem to appear nowhere else on the planet. Some claim it's proof of a meteor impact or a cataclysmic event buried by time. Others suggest something stranger still, perhaps traces of an ancient technology long erased from the surface world. Topography and features, hydrothermal vents spew boiling, mineral-rich water into the freezing deep, creating ecosystems that thrive without sunlight. Yet, among these vents and ridges, deep-sea probes have recorded mechanical-sounding vibrations, rhythmic pulses that don't match tectonic activity or known marine life. Most official reports call them instrumental errors. Others suspect that something down there, biological or otherwise, might be active, hidden beneath centuries of pressure and silence. Human impact and hidden knowledge. Despite advanced submersibles and mapping satellites, we've explored less than 20% of the seabed. And curiously, exploration efforts often end abruptly. Funding withdrawn, data classified, missions quietly canceled. Governments and corporations claim it's for budgetary reasons, but conspiracy theorists whisper about deep-sea bases, lost civilizations, and discoveries too disruptive to reveal. In the end, the seabed remains the most mysterious terrain on Earth, a place where science meets silence. Maybe we're not ready for what's down there, or maybe someone already knows and decided long ago that some parts of the ocean should stay unexplored. Yonaguni Monument. At the far western edge of Japan, just off the coast of Taiwan, lies Yonaguni Island, a remote, windswept outpost that shouldn't be remarkable. And yet, beneath its turquoise waters lies one of the greatest archaeological riddles of the modern era. One that science still can't or won't fully explain. Geography and setting. Yonaguni is Japan's westernmost inhabited island. Small, quiet, barely 30 square kilometers wide, with fewer than 2,000 residents. It sits atop the Yonaguni Depression, a deep underwater trench where the powerful Kuroshio current sweeps past on its journey to the East China Sea. The island's isolation has long made it a place of whispers, a crossroads between Japan and Taiwan, myth and mystery, history and culture. For centuries, Yonaguni has been home to a people who lived at the edge of empires. Archaeological traces suggest early settlers may have arrived from Taiwan thousands of years ago. Later, it became part of the Ryukyu Kingdom before Japan absorbed the island into Okinawa Prefecture. But beneath the surface of history runs a current of myth. Tales of Miruku, a goddess said to have abandoned the island, leaving its people to hardship. Perhaps those stories remember something older, something lost beneath the sea. The underwater mystery, Yonaguni Monument. In 1986, a diver exploring Yonaguni's southern coast stumbled upon what looked like a staircase descending into the deep. Perfectly straight edges, geometric platforms, and sharp right angles rising from the seabed. Some claimed it was a natural formation of sandstone carved by erosion. Others, including respected researchers, saw the impossible, the remnants of an ancient city sunk by cataclysm. The so-called Yonaguni Monument is vast, terraces, columns, and shapes resembling temples or roadways. But here's where it gets strange. Official studies are inconsistent, funding scarce, and underwater expeditions rarely publicized. Despite decades of debate, mainstream geology insists it's natural, yet no similar formation anywhere else on Earth looks quite like it. Legacy and the question science won't touch. Why can't or won't science explain it? Some say the truth threatens to rewrite history. If the Yonaguni Monument is man-made, it would predate every known advanced civilization in East Asia, forcing archaeologists to accept that an ancient, unknown culture thrived and then vanished beneath the Pacific. That kind of revelation could upend entire timelines, from migration patterns to cultural origins. And so, the mystery stays buried. Officially, it's just rocks. Unofficially, divers report strange sensations, magnetic anomalies, and carvings that look too deliberate to be chance. In the end, Yonaguni stands as a reminder, not of what we know, but what we refuse to see. Maybe it's geology. Maybe it's a lost civilization. Or maybe it's proof that sometimes the ocean doesn't just hide history, it guards it. Milky Sea phenomenon. The ocean keeps its secrets best at night. Beneath the black waves, a pale glow sometimes awakens. Not from the moon, not from ships, but from the sea itself. This is the Milky Sea's effect, one of the strangest and least understood natural phenomena on Earth. A phenomenon so vast and so eerie that it's left sailors terrified, scientists baffled, and skeptics silent. For centuries, sailors have told tales of drifting into oceans that glowed as if lit from below. Thousands of square kilometers of water shining with a ghostly blue-white light. Some compared it to sailing through liquid snow, others to a sea of stars beneath their ships. Unlike normal bioluminescence that flashes in bursts, these waters glow steadily and endlessly, as if the ocean itself were alive and aware. Entire ships have reported being surrounded by light, leaving glowing wakes that stretch to the horizon. The phenomenon isn't new. It's been described as far back as the 1600s, with detailed reports from sailors who swore they could read by the ocean's light. One of the most famous accounts came from the CSS Alabama in 1864, whose crew passed through a glowing sea off the Horn of Africa, so bright it made the night sky look dim. Between 1915 and 1993, over 200 sightings were officially logged, most in the Indian Ocean. But countless others remain unrecorded, dismissed as superstition or mirage. Modern science claims the glow comes from luminous bacteria such as Vibrio harvei, forming massive colonies that emit light when triggered by chemical signals. A 1985 expedition even collected glowing water and confirmed bacterial presence. Satellites have captured enormous glowing patches from space, some larger than entire US states. And yet, that's where the certainty ends. No one has ever observed a Milky Sea forming. No one has witnessed it fade, and no one can explain how microscopic organisms coordinate to illuminate entire oceans for weeks at a time. Here's where the mystery deepens. Despite satellites proving it exists, funding for studying Milky Seas is virtually non-existent. The events happen in isolated waters, far from shipping routes, and attempts to reach them are mysteriously delayed or canceled. Researchers admit they don't know the trigger. Some suspect electromagnetic anomalies. Others whisper about deep-sea energy releases or chemical reactions beyond current understanding. And still, the phenomenon sits at the edge of science, verified yet unexplained. It's strange, isn't it? We've mapped the moon and Mars in detail, yet our own oceans still glow with a light no one fully understands. Perhaps the answer is biological. Perhaps it's something deeper, something the ocean keeps to itself. Because when entire seas ignite with an otherworldly light and the instruments start to fail, science turns away, and mystery takes its place. Maybe the Milky Seas aren't just a quirk of nature. Maybe they're a signal, a quiet reminder from the deep that not everything under heaven is meant to be understood. The immortal jellyfish. They say death is life's only certainty, yet somewhere in the ocean drifts a creature that quietly defies it. Meet Turritopsis doornii, better known as the immortal jellyfish. Barely the size of a pinky nail, this fragile being does something that should be biologically impossible. When faced with injury, starvation, or old age, it simply turns back the clock. It doesn't die, it resets. Discovered in 1883 and long confused with its close relative Turritopsis nutricula, the species was later confirmed as distinct through genetic analysis. Named after zoologist Anton Dorn, it has since earned the nickname Benjamin Button jellyfish, a poetic nod to its ability to reverse its life cycle, transforming from a mature adult back into a youthful polyp, essentially reincarnating itself within its own body. Physically, it's unremarkable. A transparent bell no wider than 4.5 millimeters, crowned with up to 90 delicate tentacles. Yet inside this tiny organism lies a biological paradox. When it senses stress, injury, temperature change, lack of food, it triggers a process called transdifferentiation, where its cells literally change identity, reverting to an earlier developmental stage. Where every other creature deteriorates with time, T. doornii begins again. Typical jellyfish live short, fragile lives. They hatch, grow, reproduce, and die. But T. doornii breaks this rule. Instead of aging to death, it can retreat to its polyp stage, cloning itself in the process, and start over. In theory, it could live forever, endlessly looping through its own evolution. The catch? No one has ever observed a single specimen doing this indefinitely. Most are eaten or die from disease long before they can repeat the cycle, yet the potential for immortality remains undeniable. Scientists have identified links between this jellyfish's cellular behavior and stem cell regeneration, DNA repair, and telomere protection, the same biological markers linked to human aging. But despite decades of study, the mechanism behind its reset is still beyond comprehension. Cultivating the species in labs often fails, and long-term monitoring mysteriously stalls. It's as if nature guards the secret. Here's where things get unsettling. Some biologists suggest the mystery endures not only because it's complex, but because it's too disruptive. A creature capable of reversing aging challenges medicine, mortality, and even ethics. Research on T. doornii remains curiously underfunded, overshadowed by safer studies. There's even speculation that private labs are quietly studying its regenerative genes for anti-aging or military applications. In the end, the so-called immortal jellyfish doesn't just defy biology. It defies the boundaries of what science is willing to confront. Maybe it's not that we can't explain it. Maybe it's that we're not allowed to. Because if a creature can truly escape death, it doesn't just rewrite nature, it rewrites everything we believe about being alive. The Baltic Sea Structure. Deep beneath the cold, dark waters of the Baltic Sea lies one of the strangest discoveries of the modern age. The Baltic Sea Anomaly, a circular structure resting on the seabed, captured in a grainy sonar image in 2011. Ever since, it has been the subject of fierce debate, part geology, part myth, and part cover-up. It began in June 2011, when Swedish treasure hunters from Ocean X, led by Peter Lindberg and Dennis Aberg, were scanning the floor of the northern Baltic Sea in search of shipwrecks. What they found instead stopped them cold, a massive disc-shaped object, about 60 meters wide, sitting 90 meters down. The formation appeared to have smooth edges, terrace-like steps, and what looked eerily like a runway leading toward it. When news broke, tabloids screamed, "UFO on the seabed." And for a moment, the world looked to the Baltic in wonder. Scientists, however, moved quickly to dismiss the excitement. Marine geologists examined nearby rock samples and declared the find ordinary, composed of glacial granite and sandstone, the usual leftovers from the Ice Age. But even that conclusion had holes. The samples weren't taken directly from the anomaly, and sonar data was described as low resolution and inconclusive. Some experts even admitted the object's shape was too geometrically precise to be easily explained by nature. Yet, funding for further investigation mysteriously evaporated, and Ocean X's requests to revisit the site went unanswered. Mainstream geology says it's a glacial formation, perhaps carved by ancient ice sheets, but others, including engineers and independent researchers, claim the symmetry, apparent stair-like terraces, and metallic sonar echoes suggest something artificial. Some speculate it could be an ancient ruin, a crashed craft, or remnants of a prehistoric civilization lost to rising seas. Curiously, those alternative ideas are often met not with scientific debate, but silence. Here's the strange part. Despite global curiosity, no major scientific institution has mounted a full expedition to the site. Why? Officially, it's too expensive, too remote, too unimportant. But skeptics wonder if there's more to it. The Baltic Sea is a politically sensitive region, bordered by military powers and crisscrossed with classified submarine routes. Could the anomaly be something governments already know about and prefer to keep buried? Over a decade later, the Baltic Sea anomaly remains unexplained, neither fully natural nor convincingly artificial. Scientists dismiss it, explorers insist it's real, but the deeper mystery is the avoidance itself. Why has no one sought the truth in earnest? Perhaps the answer lies in what it represents, the possibility that human history or something older left a mark far beneath the waves. Because sometimes, it's not that science can't explain a mystery, it's that doing so might unravel more than we're prepared to face. The disappearance of the Mary Celeste. The tale of Mary Celeste is one of those stories that refuses to sink. Found adrift in the Atlantic in 1872, fully intact, perfectly seaworthy, and yet utterly deserted. It remains one of history's most enduring maritime enigmas. Every log entry, every investigation, every explanation ends the same way, with silence. The Mary Celeste began life in 1861, launched in Nova Scotia under the name Amazon. She changed owners several times, suffering minor misfortunes before being refitted and renamed under American ownership in 1868. By late 1872, she was captained by Benjamin Spooner Briggs, a respected sailor traveling from New York to Genoa with his wife Sarah, their young daughter Sophia, and 7 experienced crewmen. The ship's cargo, over 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol, volatile but valuable. On December 4th, 1872, the British brig DEI Gracia came across the Mary Celeste adrift, roughly 400 miles off the Azores. The vessel was fully rigged, its sails partly set, and the cargo largely untouched. Food and water for 6 months were still on board. Even the captain's log was neatly up to date, the last entry only 10 days old. Yet the lifeboat was missing, and so was everyone on board. No sign of struggle, no blood, no bodies. It was as if 10 people had simply evaporated. The ship was towed to Gibraltar, where a British Admiralty court launched an inquiry. Prosecutor Frederick Solly Flood suspected foul play, piracy, mutiny, even insurance fraud. But evidence was scarce. The salvage award given to the rescuers was unusually low, as if the court still doubted their innocence. Over the decades, theories piled up. Alcohol vapor explosions, rogue waves, sea quakes, alien abduction, take your pick. Yet, not one has ever fit every fact. And here's where the conspiracy creeps in. The cargo logs show several barrels were empty, but no trace of spillage was found. Some researchers suggest the alcohol wasn't industrial at all, but experimental, possibly toxic, maybe even government-linked. Others claim the official records were altered to protect shipping interests, avoiding panic over a cargo hazard that could threaten the entire transatlantic trade. The Mary Celeste also carried a U.S. registry and a mixed crew, at a time of tense maritime politics between Britain and America. Did someone decide the truth was inconvenient? The ship was quietly resold, refitted, and sent back to sea, as if to erase the scandal. Captain Briggs and his family were never found, and no one claimed their personal effects. What makes Mary Celeste so haunting isn't just that she was empty, it's that she was too perfect. Everything left behind looked staged, deliberate, impossible. Maybe science can't explain the mystery because the evidence we have isn't the full story, or because those who knew it made sure it stayed buried. In the end, the Mary Celeste doesn't just float through history as a ghost ship. It's a warning. When the sea takes something, or when someone wants it taken, truth itself can vanish just as completely. Devil's Sea. They say some oceans keep their secrets not at the bottom, but in plain sight. Off the southeastern coast of Japan lies a stretch of ocean known to sailors as the Devil's Sea, or, more ominously, the Dragon's Triangle. It's a region whispered about in the same breath as the Bermuda Triangle, a place where compasses fail, ships vanish, and radio signals dissolve into static. Here, the ocean doesn't just swallow vessels, it erases them. In Japanese, Mano Umi means Sea of the Devil, and for centuries, it's lived up to its name. The Devil's Sea is said to stretch roughly 200 miles east to west and 300 miles north to south, just south of Tokyo. Ancient fishermen called it cursed. Modern pilots have called it inexplicable. One chilling story tells of a Japanese fighter pilot in 1945 who radioed, "Something is happening in the sky. The sky is opening up," before disappearing without a trace. A decade later, in 1955, the ship Shinyo Maru No. 10 vanished from radar. And though later found, its crew refused to re-enter the area. Newspapers labeled the region Japan's Cursed Sea. Science has long tried to quiet the storm. In 1975, American researcher Larry Kushi investigated the so-called Bermuda and Devil's Triangle phenomena, finding that many missing ships were small, poorly equipped fishing boats lost to storms, rough seas, or volcanic activity. The Kaio Maru No. 5, a Japanese research vessel said to have vanished mysteriously, was later found to have sunk after a submarine volcano eruption. To skeptics, the math is simple. The Devil's Sea isn't deadlier than any other stretch of ocean. It just has better publicity. And yet, the reports keep coming. Strange lights above the water, compass interference, sudden void zones of silence in aircraft communication. The region sits atop the Pacific Ring of Fire, a volatile zone where tectonic plates grind and undersea volcanoes erupt. But that alone doesn't explain why entire ships go missing without distress calls, or why radar occasionally shows phantom vessels that vanish as quickly as they appear. Some say the area's magnetic anomalies and methane hydrate releases interfere with electronics. Others believe it's a convenient cover story. The Japanese government quietly limited research in the region during the Cold War, citing navigation hazards. Military analysts suggest the zone may conceal experimental technology, submarines, drones, or acoustic tests, explaining the sudden bursts of electromagnetic activity reported by ships. So, why does the mystery endure? Maybe because every time someone gets close to the truth, the ocean shifts, swallowing both the evidence and the story. It's a region where folklore, science, and silence all coexist uneasily. Perhaps the Devil's Sea earned its name for a reason. Not because it's cursed, but because someone, somewhere, doesn't want us to know what really lurks beneath it. After all, not every mystery defies explanation. Some are simply protected. Mariana Trench, hidden in the western Pacific Ocean, lies a place so deep, so alien, and so forbidding that even science seems to step back in silence. The Mariana Trench, the deepest point on our planet, isn't just a geological feature. It's a doorway into the unknown, where light never reaches and answers refuse to rise. Stretching roughly 2,500 kilometers long and plunging almost 11 kilometers beneath the surface, the Mariana Trench lies just east of the Mariana Islands. Its deepest point, the Challenger Deep, sits over 10,984 meters below sea level, so deep that if Mount Everest were dropped into it, the mountain's peak would still be nearly 2 kilometers underwater. It's a silent wound in Earth's crust, a place where pressure crushes steel, sound bends strangely, and time itself feels suspended. The trench was born from a violent process called subduction, where the Pacific Plate slides beneath the smaller Mariana Plate. Over millions of years, this collision carved out the planet's ultimate abyss. Around it, the seafloor buckles and groans with volcanic activity, methane seeps, and hydrothermal vents spewing mineral-rich water. Scientists believe these extreme zones may mirror conditions that once birthed life on Earth, or could even sustain it elsewhere in the universe. And yet, no one can fully explain the strange anomalies of its magnetic fields or the strange chemical signatures that don't match known geological patterns. Down there, pressure is more than 1,000 times what we feel at the surface. Temperatures hover just above freezing. And still, life exists. Transparent snailfish, microbe colonies feeding on chemicals instead of sunlight, and bizarre gelatinous forms that seem to drift between biology and mystery. In 2019, researchers captured an unidentified sound near the trench, a pulsing metallic moan that didn't match any known marine or geological source. It was recorded once and never heard again. Despite decades of exploration, the Mariana Trench remains more mystery than map. Only a handful of humans have ever seen it firsthand. Equipment malfunctions are routine, cameras go dark, instruments record impossible data, and communication cuts off without reason. Researchers blame the pressure, but some whisper that what's down there doesn't want to be found. Funding for deep-sea missions is curiously sparse compared to space exploration. Why? Some say it's because the answers waiting in the trench could rewrite what we know about Earth's past, or what still lives beneath it. The idea that microbes could thrive without sunlight challenges evolutionary timelines. The suggestion of metallic anomalies or strange sonar readings could point to something non-natural. In the end, the Mariana Trench is less a destination and more a question. What is Earth hiding from itself? Science claims it's still studying, but maybe it's avoiding. Because at the bottom of the world, where no light reaches and no witness survives, the ocean keeps its own secrets, and some believe it's been told not to share them. The fate of the SS Waratah. Among all the ghost stories written by the sea, few are as haunting as the disappearance of the SS Waratah, a brand new liner built to modern standards that vanished without a trace in 1909. Over a century later, the Indian Ocean still guards her secret, and science remains strangely silent. Built in 1908 by Barclay Curley and Co. in Glasgow, the Waratah was commissioned by the Blue Anchor Line, a British-Australian company known for its passenger cargo service between London and Adelaide. She was 141 meters long, boasted 8 watertight compartments, and was marketed as virtually unsinkable. Her design mimicked the grand liners of the time, elegant, powerful, and promising safety through engineering. But some who sailed her first voyage claimed she rolled heavily in rough water, a warning sign that was quietly dismissed. Reports of dangerous instability were downplayed by the company, eager to maintain investor confidence. In July 1909, the Waratah left Durban bound for Cape Town with 211 people aboard. On July 27th, the steamer Clan McIntyre spotted her near the Bechet River, exchanged signals, and watched her fade into the horizon. She never arrived. No SOS, no debris field, no survivors, not even an oil slick. Entirely erased. Over the years, dozens of search missions have swept the South African coast. None have ever found her. A British inquiry in 1910 suggested she was overloaded and perhaps capsized in a storm, but witnesses from earlier voyages swore she was top-heavy and rolled unnaturally. Others hinted at unbalanced cargo, over 1,000 tons of lead ore, possibly misdeclared or improperly stowed. Some researchers later speculated that the Waratah might have been carrying secret military or chemical cargo, explaining why details of her manifest were never fully disclosed. Curiously, the Blue Anchor Line dissolved less than a year later under financial strain. Some historians suspect the company, and possibly insurers, suppressed information to avoid liability. The ship's stability flaws, after all, were known before she left port. Modern sonar and underwater drones have scoured the seabed between Durban and Cape Town. Nothing. It's as if the Waratah was plucked from existence. Some oceanographers point to deep undersea canyons where wreckage could be buried under layers of silt. Others admit that navigation errors and deliberate falsification of logs from that era make pinpointing her path nearly impossible. But skeptics go further. They claim the Waratah's disappearance was convenient. If her design was fatally flawed or her cargo illegal, a missing ship meant no scandal, no lawsuits, no answers. In the end, The SS Waratah isn't just a ship that vanished, it's a story that was buried. Perhaps she lies at the bottom of the ocean, twisted and forgotten. Or perhaps she was never meant to be found. Because sometimes, when the truth threatens too many powerful interests, it's easier to let the sea keep the evidence. They say the ocean hides its monsters not beneath the surface, but in plain sight, rising without warning, devouring everything in their path, and leaving behind nothing but disbelief. These are rogue waves, the ocean's uninvited giants, towering walls of water that defy logic, prediction, and even the laws of physics as we understand them. A rogue wave isn't just a big wave, it's a betrayal of the sea itself. Scientists define it as any wave more than twice the height of its surroundings, erupting suddenly in the middle of otherwise ordinary seas. Unlike tsunamis, which are born from earthquakes or landslides, rogue waves form out of nowhere. One moment, calm water. The next, a 30-meter wall of death. Ships have reported being hit by these monsters in calm weather, far from storms or currents. They rise, crash, and vanish in minutes, leaving no trace, just wreckage and silence. For centuries, sailors told stories of walls of water that came out of the blue and swallowed entire ships. Scientists dismissed them as superstition, saying such waves were impossible. In the 19th century, textbooks claimed the ocean's maximum wave height couldn't exceed 30 feet. Then came January 1st, 1995. The Draupner platform in the North Sea recorded a wave 25.6 meters high smashing into it. Suddenly, the impossible had proof. But even after the evidence, skepticism lingered. For decades, research into rogue waves was underfunded and downplayed. Why? Because the implications were dangerous. If these waves are real and frequent, it means thousands of modern ships, from freighters to cruise liners, are built to standards that can't withstand the ocean's full power. Oceanographers have theories: non-linear energy focusing, colliding currents, overlapping wave groups, but none explain the speed, size, or frequency of rogue waves perfectly. Some occur where they shouldn't, in calm seas with no warning systems tripped. Others hit in clusters, as if triggered by something unseen. There's even speculation about undersea resonance, magnetic disturbances, or secret military experiments with wave manipulation. Theories that sound absurd until you consider how much about the deep ocean we still don't understand, and how many incidents go unreported for insurance or security reasons. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Science doesn't like unpredictability. Rogue waves refuse to fit neatly into equations or models. They're chaotic, rare enough to study poorly, but common enough to terrify anyone who works at sea. The few recorded events often come with missing data, malfunctioning instruments, or contradictory readings. Even satellites can only catch brief glimpses. Some researchers argue the danger is deliberately understated, because acknowledging the full threat would mean rewriting global shipping regulations, redesigning vessels, and admitting how fragile our control of the oceans really is. In the end, rogue waves are more than water. They are reminders that nature doesn't always play by our rules, and sometimes, when the sea decides to rise, it doesn't care about human understanding. Maybe science can't explain them because it doesn't want to, or maybe the ocean itself keeps that secret, one wave at a time.